Latest research topics in finance. Beginner's Guide to Conduct Research. Table of contents. So let's start. 1. Access to finance. The research topics related to access to finance are given as under. The role of firm size in determining access to finance. The role of cultural and national differences in access to finance. Family ties, political connections, group affiliations and access to finance. Access to bank financing and the collateral channel. Access to financing and firm growth. Access to finance and firm performance. Influence of culture and institutional environments on access to finance. Is there any link between access to external finance and firms' productivity? Ownership changes and access to external financing. Policy initiatives and firms' access to external finance in emerging economies. Islamic banking development and access to credit. Managerial, professional connections and firms' access to informal financing resources. Regulation and access to finance. Bank structure, relationship lending and small firm access to finance. Can easy access to finance impede entrepreneurship? The economic impact of expanding access to finance. Bank competition and access to finance around the globe. Local bank financial constraints and firm access to external finance. Does access to finance alleviate poverty? What determines SMEs' access to finance? The research topics related to firm performance in association with other factors are given as under. Managerial ownership and firm performance. Institutional ownership and firm performance. Dispersed and concentrated ownership and firm performance. Corporate group association and firm performance. Corporate governance and firm performance. Board independence and firm performance. Directors' gender, men versus women, and firm performance. Founders' political connections and firm performance. Controlling shareholders and firm performance. Board structure and firm performance. CEO decision horizon and firm performance. CEO compensation and firm performance. Compensation structure and firm performance. CEO compensation and firm performance. Managerial participation in directors' selection and firm performance. Managers' incentive schemes and firm performance. Management succession and firm performance. Voluntary disclosure and firm performance. IPO and seasoned equities and firm performance. Working capital management and firm performance. Dividend policy and firm performance. Stock repurchase decision and firm performance. Corporate honesty and firm performance. Financing choices such as short-term loans, long-term loans, debt versus equity and firm performance. Corporate social responsibility and firm performance. Firm investment policies account receivable, cash holdings, inventory. Each of these can be a separate topic and firm performance. Firm size and firm performance. Innovation efficiency and firm performance. Growth opportunities and firm performance. Product market competition and firm performance. Derivative use and firm performance. Hedging decisions and firm performance. Merger decisions and firm performance. Corporate disclosure policies and firm performance. Firm life cycle and firm performance. Earning management and firm performance. 3. Expected returns. The research topics related to expected returns are given as under. Consumer confidence or business cycle. What matters more for expected returns? Why higher variability in trading volume results in lower expected returns? Business cycle and expected returns. Islamic risk factors and expected returns. Term structure of implied dividend yields and expected returns. Sentiment approach to expected returns. Firm capital structure and firm dividend policy. Firm capital structure and firm investment decisions. Firm capital structure and free cash flow hypothesis. Firm capital structure and firm growth opportunities. Firm capital structure and underinvestment problems. Firm capital structure and human capital hypothesis. Firm capital structure and legal protection of investors. Firm capital structure and country legal system. Firm capital structure and judicial efficiency of a country. Firm capital structure and bankruptcy costs. Firm capital structure and family ownership. Firm capital structure and managerial ownership. Firm capital structure and institutional ownership. Firm capital structure and dispersed and concentrated ownership. Firm capital structure and corporate group association. Firm capital structure and corporate governance. Firm capital structure and controlling shareholders. Firm capital structure and board independence. Firm capital structure and board structure. Firm capital structure and compensation structure. Firm capital structure and stock repurchase decision. Firm capital structure and firm liquidity policies. Firm capital structure and firm size. Firm capital structure and growth opportunities. Firm capital structure and product market competition. Firm capital structure and derivative use. Firm capital structure and merger decisions. Firm capital structure and hedging decisions. Firm capital structure and firm life cycle. Firm capital structure and earning management. Firm capital structure and macroeconomic factors. Firm capital structure and bank versus market-based economies. Firm capital structure and control rights and cash flow rights. Firm capital structure and institutional framework. Firm capital structure and state ownership. Firm capital structure and equity mispricing. Firm capital structure and overconfidence and optimism. Firm capital structure and product market flexibility. Firm capital structure and relevance of collateral. Firm capital structure and credit monitoring. Firm capital structure and credit rationing. 4. Cost of capital. The research topics related to cost of capital are given as under: employee stock ownership and the cost of capital, liquidity and the implied cost of equity capital, information disclosure, firm growth, and the cost of capital, inventory models and cost of capital, firm life cycle stages and implied cost of equity, firm disclosure quality and cost of capital, effects of capital structure on cost of capital, cost of capital and earnings transparency, determining cost of capital with asset pricing models, testing models of implied cost of capital, emerging issues and implications for cost of capital, market structure and the cost of capital, the effect of weighted average cost of capital on financial performance, multifactor and other cost of capital estimation models, regulatory risk and the cost of capital, regulation and access to finance, evaluating cross-sectional forecasting models for implied cost of capital, relation between expected returns and implied cost of capital, the economic impact of expanding access to finance, how excess control and cost of capital are related, investor relations level and cost of capital, risk disclosure and cost of capital. 5. Cost of equity capital. The research topics related to cost of equity capital are given as under: the impact of corporate governance on the cost of equity, evidence from financial sector of Pakistan, some evidence on the effect of company size on the cost of equity capital, the impact of financial leverage on the cost of equity, the influence of cost of equity on financial distress and firm value, How does corporate social responsibility affect the cost of equity capital through operating risk? The impact on the cost of equity capital in the effects of integrated reporting quality. Impact of investment efficiency on cost of equity. An empirical study on Sharia and non-Sharia compliance firms listed on Pakistan Stock Exchange. The impact of information disclosure quality on the cost of equity financing based on time series perspective. The impact of corporate governance on the cost of equity evidence from cement sector of Pakistan. Greater disclosure lowers the cost of equity capital evidence from non-financial sector of Pakistan. 6. Dividend policy. The research topics related to dividend policy are given as under. The impact of dividend policy on firm performance. The impact of dividend policy on shareholders' wealth and firm performance evidence from banking sector of Pakistan. The impact of dividend policy on price-earnings ratio. Effect of liquidity, profitability, leverage, and firm size on dividend policy evidence from financial sector of Pakistan. The impact of dividend policy on share price volatility in the Pakistan Stock Exchange. Dividend policy and its impact on firm valuation. The impact of dividend policy on the relationship between institutional ownership and stock price volatility evidence from Pakistan. The effects of dividend yield and dividend policy on common stock prices and returns. Impacts of dividend announcement on stock returns. Pay dividends or invest in corporate social responsibility. Is there an inverted U relationship? Are dividends detrimental to corporate social performance? 7. Earning management and discretionary accruals. The research topics related to earning management and discretionary accruals are given as under. The relationship between earning management and market liquidity. Are top management pays and earning management practices related? Can financial crisis affect earning management practices? The effect of the earning transparency on cost of capital. The impact of leverage on accrual-based earnings management. Can institutional investors exploit the accrual anomaly? Accrual-based and real earnings management. Are investors protected? Cost of capital and earnings transparency. Short-term debt maturity, monitoring and accruals-based earnings management. The effect of accounting comparability on the accrual-based and real earnings management. Earnings management and accrual anomaly across market states and business cycles. The effect of mandatory IFRS adoption on real and accrual-based earnings management activities. Can ownership structure affect earning management? Regulatory risk and the cost of capital. Accrual-based and real earnings management activities around seasoned equity offerings. Time-varying risk, mispricing attributes, and the accrual premium. Accruals, cash flows, and operating profitability in the cross-section of stock returns. Does family involvement explain why corporate social responsibility affects earnings management? How excess control and earning management practices are related. Managerial entrenchment and earnings management. Product market competition and earnings management. 8. Capital structure and financing. The research topics related to capital structure and financing are given as under. Firm capital structure and its determinants. Firm capital structure and tests of pecking order theory. Firm capital structure and tests of trade-off theory. Firm capital structure and tests of static and dynamic trade-off theories. Firm capital structure and personal and corporate taxations. Firm capital structure and marginal tax rates. Firm capital structure and tests of agency theory. Firm capital structure and firm dividend policy. Firm capital structure and firm investment decisions. firm capital structure and firm growth opportunities, firm capital structure and underinvestment problems, firm capital structure and free cash flow hypothesis, firm capital structure and human capital hypothesis, firm capital structure and legal protection of investors. How financial crisis plays a role in altering capital structures. Country tax system and capital structure choices. Information asymmetries and capital structure decisions around the world. Product market competition and capital structure decisions. Capital structure adjustments. Do macroeconomic and business risks matter? The capital structure and investment decisions of the small owner-managed firm. Competing theories of capital structure. Pecking order theory versus trade-off theory. Can hedging increase the debt capacity of a firm? Can credit ratings determine firms' capital structure? Diversification and capital structure. 9. Corporate social responsibility. The research topics related to corporate social responsibility are given as under. The role of board gender and foreign ownership in the CSR performance. Gender diverse board and the relevance of voluntary CSR reporting. Corporate social responsibility governance, outcomes, and financial performance. CSR, business sustainability performance and cost of equity capital. CSR and equity finance. Is there any relations between the two? The effects of corporate social responsibility on brand equity and firm performance. Do financial constraints matter when firms engage in CSR? Does CSR have different value implications for different shareholders? CSR reporting practices and the quality of disclosure. Doing good and doing bad. The impact of corporate social responsibility and irresponsibility on firm performance. Innovation and CSR. Do they go well together? 10. Green corporate governance. The research topics related to green corporate governance access are given as under. Do better governed firms generate more green patents? Can institutional ownership play a role? Green governance and sustainability reporting in industries that are more likely to pollute, for example, oil, mining and gas. Do investors and creditors price firms' social and governance risks? Are family firms more concerned about governance of the firm? How green growth is possible for developing countries. 11. Corporate disclosure and governance. The research topics related to corporate disclosure and governance are given as under. Corporate governance practices, firms' performance, and risk. Are these related? The relevance of good corporate governance practices in family-controlled and concentrated ownership environment. How and why an independent audit matters. Market risk disclosures and corporate governance structure. Usefulness of annual reports to individual investors. What determines CSR quality and quantity? Can board diversity play a role in the disclosure process? How mandatory derivative disclosure policy affects CEO compensation and earnings smoothing. Earning management and IFRS adoption. The impact of Islamic Financial Services Board Standard No. 3 on corporate governance. The perception of financial analysts on risk, risk management, and internal control disclosure. Corporate governance and intellectual capital reporting in a period of financial crisis. The role of ethnic directors in corporate social responsibility. Does culture matter? Extent and determinants of voluntary disclosure for regulatory purposes. The impact of company size and multiple directorships on corporate governance effectiveness. The capital structure and investment decisions of the small owner-managed firm. Governance indicators as determinants of operational risk. Corporate governance, size, and disclosure of related party transactions. Social media, new challenges and opportunities for corporate governance. The Corporate Gini Index determinants and advantages. Industry concentration and corporate disclosure policy. The impact of audit committee characteristics on corporate voluntary disclosure, equity home bias and corporate disclosure. The impact of news articles and corporate disclosure on credit risk valuation. Internet-based corporate disclosure and market value. 12 Market efficiency and behavioral finance. The research topics related to market efficiency and behavioral finance are given as under. A study of seasonality effect on the Pakistan Stock Exchange. The efficient market hypothesis. Review of specialized literature and empirical research. The efficient market hypothesis and its applicability to the Pakistan Stock Exchange. Stock market efficiency in developing countries. A case study of the Pakistan Stock Exchange. Market efficiency in the age of machine learning. Market efficiency in foreign exchange market. Emerging markets research. Trends, issues and future directions. Review on efficiency and anomalies in stock markets. Improving labor market efficiency in Ghana, a field experiment. Impact of COVID-19 on stock market efficiency, evidence from developing and developed countries. Effect of policy reforms on market efficiency, evidence from Pakistan Stock Exchange. Market efficiency and price formation when dealers are asymmetrically informed. Sophisticated investors and market efficiency, evidence from a natural experiment. Does crude oil market efficiency improve after the lift of the U.S. export ban, evidence from time-varying Hurst Exponent Ramadan effect on stock market return and trade volume, evidence from Pakistan Stock Exchange. Relative and absolute price efficiency in stock markets. Could behavioral finance and efficient markets both be correct? The relationship between behavioral bias and personal investment decisions, evidence from Pakistan. Behavioral decision-making in financial markets and exploration. Can behavioral finance theories highlight investment decisions of investors in challenging environment? Using behavioral finance to understand the working of international financial markets, a literature-based review. 13 Islamic banking and finance. The research topics related to Islamic banking and finance are given as under. How Islamic financial instruments can be used in international trade. A mechanism for interbank transactions for Islamic and conventional banks. Can Sharia board play a role in the development of Islamic instruments? Tawarruk is a tool of interbank borrowing. Risk management framework for Islamic banks. Do we need something special? Have the challenges faced by Islamic banks changed over the last decade? The dynamics of financial crisis, conventional versus Islamic finance. Can zakat be used as a microfinancing tools? Value at risk of sukuk and conventional bonds. Risk analysis of murabaha financing and leasing. Please subscribe my YouTube channel Thesis Helper. Thanks for watching.